Kia ora, nau mai, tauti mai, tēnei wāhanga hau o taki kōrero. Good afternoon, Aotearoa, and welcome to the special episode of Taki Kōrero Live Q&A for whānau. I'm Maraia Tepa from Orana Tamariki, and we're today talking to mental health rangatahi advocate, Tale Brand, but over the coming weeks we'll be holding a few live kōreros just like this to support you and your whānau during these tricky times with COVID-19, especially when it comes to parenting. Before we kick off, we really want to encourage you to be part of this show, and maybe if you want to add a comment and let us know where you're from, that would be great too. If you know someone else who would be interested in this kōrero, just tag them in the comments. Nō reira, e te whānau, kei te mihi atu kia tātou katoa. Kia ora, Tale, maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, cool. Okay. Thank you. Kia ora everyone, my name's Tale Bryant. I'm 23 years old. I'm currently living in Whakatane. I'm half Fijian, half Kiwi, and was born in Nelson and brought up just down the road from where I live in Waimana. I just recently got a job as a career fit tutor, so I'll be teaching NCA level 1 and 2 through sports, and started my job on the day of lockdown. So just been getting to know that mahi, and I'm also a future leaders coach in Whakatane and just work with various youth groups around the Eastern Bay of Plenty.
Wow, so you just started your mahi and you had to go into lockdown, Tale. How's that been?
Yeah, it's been really hard,
Yeah.
just because I didn't really I sort of knew what to do, and they've sent me through all the paperwork, but I think it's just been hard adjusting to like a proper routine, and especially when you've got all these other housework to do, and it's just, yeah. So it's been pretty hard, but it's cool.
And we're thinking about the realities of being rangatahi, and you're a bit, but you support a lot of rangatahi. What are the realities for rangatahi, especially living in isolated communities like Waimana, Whakatane, Ruatoki, all those areas that you work in, and Hopotiki and Kawero?
Right now, the conversation, the main topic is boredom. So everyone's really bored. There's been a few people who have broken their bubbles just because for them, it's like they just go to see their mates on the regular. I've seen a couple of people have like 5-man parties just on Facebook and stuff. But the reality is that people are really bored, and some people are finding it a really hard time right now being in isolation and really stuck with their thoughts. Like I've had a lot of people message just saying they're having really dark thoughts because they're just home and they're alone, and they don't have the support of their friends or the groups that they go to.
And that's really important when we think about the well-being of our rangatahi, and you're talking about they're in dark places. How can whānau, how can community support those rangatahi? What are your strategies in supporting them? What are your tips?
I guess my tips just for a couple of people that I've talked to is, I guess, trying to help them use this time to sort of just think about the positives, sent people a few different ways, like planning goals. So what do you want to do within the next week? Just making it simple things just to achieve one thing a day. And then, you've got all this time to think about what you want to do in the future. But with our Future Leaders crew, what we're trying to do, we've just applied for funding for these boredom buster packs, and we've got an idea of what we want to make for the young rangatahi, but then we're also making some for like 16 plus, and looking at stuff that we can put in, whether it's stuff to do baking or journals, so people can write down their thoughts and their feelings, and just putting in a whole lot of free mental health resources and like calendars that we can give to them so that they can see what they can do. Just because during, I think, the lockdown phase, everyone was very focused on getting their kai and making sure that their bubbles were ready, and no one really, or like it was sold out, or people didn't have enough money to get games and stuff to keep people occupied, because everyone's sick of their phones already.
So when you think about, you were talking about boredom busters, which I quite like that name, and having a rauemi like that, what is there out there for, what rauemi are out there for rangatahi at the moment, on whether it's social media or printed resources?
That's there's people like with the Easter egg hunt, they sent out a thing so that you could sent out a link so that you could print off your Easter egg. But then they have to look like the number one barrier for a lot of people is people don't have access to printers. People don't have access to paper and ink. So those are things that we're trying. And a few other people are making up packs to send out to whānau. But I guess tips for like people, if you think that your child or a young person in your home is feeling really low, it's the way that you sort of approach people as well, because especially in these areas, people are just told to harden up or go outside and go for a walk. But I guess it's just trying to create a safe space. And during this time, it's been really good because it's like, how do we help those who want to help those who are going through stuff? So how would he help the person who wants to support the people? Because it's quite hard, like, and everyone's different. There's no one size fits all way that we can approach this, but it's just being, I think, listening to someone and not always putting your 20 cents in, listening to them. Yeah.
And we're going into the third week and we've got some questions. Kia ora, Sarah. She wants to know, Tale, what are some things that families can do with teens and tweens and babies in the mix? Because that's a big one.
Yeah. I just saw this really cool post the other day, and it was all these games made out of like pretty much cardboard boxes. So I guess it's just like you can do, I guess, just random scavenger hunts. You could have family team building days. It just depends on what people have. I guess, there's one that we've been trying to do is like you can play volleyball with like a toilet paper roll if you don't have, or just making a competition using common household stuff, like how many sort of sets can you do with the toilet paper roll and then passing it on to the next person. And then with all the babies, like there's making slime out of, all you need is corn flour, water, and some food coloring, like stuff that you can just get from the supermarket. What else is there? Yeah. Oh, and a really cool one I think is right now you can get the packets of seeds from the supermarkets, just using some soil. And I just did, like with the feed jars, we've got so much feed jars, and I was like, oh, I want to try plant some seeds. All you got to do is take the seeds out and like start trying to make your own seedlings for stuff. And I put it away at the start of isolation, checked them yesterday, and then they're like growing. And it's like, just this is a time where we can sort of do stuff that we wouldn't have time. You could plant a family garden, and you don't need to go out and buy fancy stuff. Just use whatever you have at home and plant the seeds. Go from there.
Ka whai. Another thing that we talk about is how the problem for a lot of our parents out there that they're asking questions, and this is from Sarah Anor, and she's talking about how do I get my teens offline?
Yeah.
What else do you give them?
What else do you give them? That is a good one. What have we been doing? Just, we try to encourage like a no screens time, I guess. So a couple hours a day with no screens time. We just went out on a family walk yesterday, up the bird walk here, and just getting out into fresh air, taking everyone out. And sometimes you got to be brutal, and you just got to turn the Wi-Fi off and be like, no. Or teach them when you're cooking dinner, cooking lunch, cooking breakfast. Bring your kids in and start teaching them. And I guess just start really preparing them for life skills. Like when you leave home, you're going to have to do this. But you want to do fun stuff as well. So if you want to add me on Facebook, because my page is just public, and I'll share. And it was so cool. It had so many different cool ideas of what you can do at home with common household stuff.
Awesome.
Sorry, I hope that helps.
No, it really does. I want to say hello to Himami, who's a social worker and teacher in Invercargill, and says hello from Ricky too. So kia ora, kia kōrua. Another thing about this space, it's all right to have those sort of activities, but what about the teens that are rebelling against everything? We know some of our own whānau and Te Waimana and Rātoki Kawero, and they're not going to be painting Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So how do we support parents when their tamariki, especially the teens, are just not wanting to engage and want to bust the bubble? Because you talked about some of them busting the bubble.
I guess, like, if you sat down with them and really sort of explained why New Zealand's in this lockdown, and I guess talking about, like, you know, and in the future, we're going to be the people who are trapped in this pandemic. And that it's not like, I don't think it's a cool thing, but it's just something to be like, wow, we're really like in the middle of making history right now, like something that people are going to remember. For the ones breaking the bubble, like, that's a hard one. That's again where the one shoe doesn't fit all. Some people just don't like the space they're in. Some people can't handle not seeing their friends. Maybe encouraging them to sort of like FaceTime or Skype their friends more instead of actually leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing about giving them a sense of purpose and encouraging them to think more about well-being and others and reminding them that. Another thing that I really wanted to touch on is when you thinking about your own whare, who lives with you? Are you all young people, rangatahi, or do you stay with whānau?
There's me, my friend, he's 22, my foster son, he's 17, my brother, he's 17, and then one of my other mates, she's 19. So yeah, well, I'm the oldest. We're all pretty young.
What are some of the conversations you
bubble.
guys? What are some of the conversations that you guys are having in your whare every night just to cope?
Just to cope, we just play cards a lot. Like, we're pretty bored most of the time, but just keeping busy. Looking forward to what we're going to be going into when we get out of this, because a couple of us are in the same youth groups. So we're just working on events, planning events that we can do. And we're just really keeping active. So we've started doing our daily walks as a group, and it's been really fun. But, you know, everyone plays on their phones and our boys are jamming their game in their room. So just trying to get them out into the sunlight for a bit.
And that's like you're setting new whānau tikana in your own house now. This has become sort of a routine. When you think about things that may help parents, setting up routines, how did you guys set up your routine so that you are not getting riri at each other and getting hoha, especially if you're in a small whare?
Yeah. So we just always get up, do our washing, do our cleaning, all that sort of stuff. I'll be watering the garden. Everyone comes in, like, we don't all come in together to have breakfast, but everyone comes in and out, and I guess we're just making sure that everyone cleans up after themselves, and we all have dinner together, which is nice. And during the day, like, we'll just go and see what the other person's doing and jump on, play cards or something, go for a walk. But our routine's pretty standard. It's quite hard. Like, it's still
keeping it loose.
Yeah. We're just cooking a lot. We're just all cooking a lot, eating a lot, watching Netflix, and I guess really reflecting on what we're up to, as well as we've all got different people who are messaging us who want to talk. So just supporting each other as well, really.
Yeah. So is online a real space where rangatahi are talking with each other, or what is the platform that rangatahi are going to?
Yeah, well, I think we all know the number one craze right now is TikTok. So everyone's on there. That's a lot of youth groups all around New Zealand and over the world are just doing a whole lot of TikTok challenges so that people can stay connected, having big Zoom parties, catching up on Zoom. But I think definitely, like, Messenger, Instagram, people are keeping in touch, people are sharing their stories. And yeah, online is massive. Online is absolutely massive. Yeah.
Kia ora tata. If you've just logged in, my name is speaking with Tale Bryant, a wellbeing advocate for rangatahi that supports rangatahi and their wellbeing all the way from Whakatane and the beautiful valley of the Waimana. And we're just getting the lowdown on what's it truly like, what's the reality of being rangatahi in isolation and how are we supporting them in their well-being to thrive. Another thing, Tale, we've got a few mihis. A mihi from Vicky, Sarah and Peter, kia ora koutou. Another thing that we want to sort of tap into, Tale, is if you were to, and I think you mentioned it a little bit, if you were to come up with something that would keep our rangatahi at home, what would make staying at home better for rangatahi, especially the ones that you've spoken to?
What would make it better? Just you gotta. This is a time where we gotta use our Kiwi ingenuity and like turn nothing into something. Like I think we really have to be creative. My mum and her partner are very good at. They live right in the bush, isolated as, and just always turning nothing into something. Really into games. Oh, how do we keep our rangatahi at home? Just getting them more involved with the stuff that you're doing, as well as maybe setting aside an hour a day, getting our rangatahi to read something or write or just learning a new skill, if you know how to, I wanted to learn how to make a weave some baskets out of flax. So just going down the road, harvesting some flax, bringing it back. I guess trying to teach new skills, like I feel like we learn so much from our parents or whoever we're living with. And I guess just talking to them about your life story, because they'll probably find it interesting. Yeah, it's a hard one. Like, yeah, it's a really hard one. People just, it's a really weird space. And I think the number one thing I've learned is a lot of people trying to overwork themselves right now. And, I'm guilty to being one of those people trying to be strict routine, follow healthy eating, healthy living, all that sort of stuff, bang out the mahi. But then we got to realize like this is a really stressful time and we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves and each other.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that you have a foster child in your care. What's that like? You're young yourself and you've fostered a 17-year-old?
Yeah. It's cool. It's made me grow up a lot. I got a new house because he came to live with me, so it pushed me. I never knew how to get a house properly before. And it's challenging. It has its challenging moments. But overall it's fun. But
so you sort of had to take
hard.
on that parenting responsibility as a young person too.
Yeah, and I'm a single young person, so it's sort of like playing mum and dad and trying to, and since we're only like 5 years apart, trying to maintain like the parental figure as well as keeping a friendship. But yeah, we've gotten to know each other over the months and it's going all right.
And because you were all young, you said you just started a job. What are there any stresses on you, especially around financial stability, especially not just yourself and the whānau that live with you, but even the rangatahi that you talk to?
Everyone in my house luckily is safe in terms of their income. My foster son is an essential worker, so he's still working. My brother is a linesman and is still getting paid, and us just working from home. But a lot of people I've talked to, especially my mates in the tourism industry, they can't go back to work. A lot of people, I've talked to a few people who are usually really connected in our groups, but they're not so connected right now because they're just trying to find money to put food on their table. And these people are like 16, 17. So that's been really hard. And usually, we're out there trying to help people find jobs, but in this time, it's really hard. It's really hard to get a job.
Yeah. We've got a comment from Georgina. She wants some excellent ideas to do with siblings. And since you've got a whānau and you are, as you said, you and your whānau are quite the entrepreneurs and can make anything out of anything. Do you have any excellent ideas for teens and siblings?
Siblings. What do me and my siblings do? So we've done like even using the toilet paper, I'm pretty sure everyone's stocked up on
Yeah.
their toilet paper, making like bowling, so using the toilet paper as 10-pin things, and then you can use just any sort of round object. If you don't have a ball, do some 10-pin bowling matches, and that could stretch you out for a couple hours. And then there's also keeping like your toilet rolls and stuff, wrapping those around, or sellotaping those so they're a bit longer, and then just using, if you can get paper plates or something, so you can make rings out of it, and then get your siblings to color it, and then you can do like the tossing games. With my, yeah, we just, we can play cards and knuckle bones for hours. So that's something fun that we do, as well as putting on skits. I think skits, this is a time when we can make really cool memories with our family. So maybe if every week people were practicing, having like a talent quest, and you had a theme, give each other a theme, and then in your little groups you can do a skit or put on a performance. And yeah, and then at the end of the whole isolation, maybe you could tally up your points, and then there's a winner, and that gives someone, people like something to look forward to at the end of isolation, as well as being able to, leave our bubbles. But I think those are just some things.
Question from Tiki. My cousin lives in a small house with big whānau. The rangatahi are getting hoha. I don't know. Maybe we sort of answered this one, but maybe.
Yeah, it's hard because you don't know what people have. You don't know their surroundings. If you're in a small house with heaps of people, you want to be able to do stuff like outside. And I guess it just depends. Like if you're on a farm, then you've got all the space to explore. If you're in a town, then and you can't even get chalk. I was going to say put chalk and make an obstacle course. But using sticks, you could get them to build stuff out of sticks. And a team building thing that we always do is you can go around your whare and grab any sort of stuff that you don't mind the kids using, give them objects, and then give them a challenge, like they have to build something out of something. And if they've got heaps of rangatahi, then try and get 2 of the same thing and give them a whole lot of different items. Give them a challenge. Like for us, we had a limited bamboo. Challenge was to make a raft, and that was something cool. But it doesn't have to be big things like that. Even just yeah, it's a hard one. Like keeping it simple, just using stuff that you got at home.
When we think about your biggest concerns for rangatahi, especially in Rorohe, what are your biggest concerns for them at the moment? Do you have any?
The biggest concerns for me right now would be like people's mental health, and also alcohol. I've talked to a lot of people who are just like on benders or just going to have benders, because they think that there's nothing else to do. They're like, oh, I don't have to get up for work tomorrow. I'm just going to drink. So that's something that's worrying me, and like people getting so much out of their routine that when we go back, people are just going to like sort of struggle to get back into sort of like normal, I guess, life. And people just being stuck with their thoughts, then people message, and just, a lot of people are in houses where they don't feel safe. And it's like, how do we help those rangatahi who are in unsafe environments when we're not even allowed to like meet with them? So I think that's why using social media as a way to communicate with people and just keeping tabs on them, checking up on people is really important. But this isolation for a lot of people has been very hard, and more because they're not with people that they can talk to face to face. Like we need people face to face. It's all good doing Skype and Zoom and all that, but it's just not the same. So just trying to give people hope that, it's only 9-10 more days, and then we can see each other again, hopefully.
Right. We're going to send out a big shout out to Margaret from Dunedin, and she's watching us today, Tale. And we've got a few other people watching. So, kei te mihi kia koutou. If you have any questions, whānau, just put them in the comment box, and we'll try and answer all the questions before we wrap up. Now, Tale, if you were to design something for rangatahi in this time, what would that be? Can you tell me what your Boredom Buster looks like?
So we're hoping we get funding. We've got a little bit of money, so we're going to start making these. But it's just simple things. So we've got colouring pencils, colouring pens, normal writing pencils, chucking in some journals, heaps. We've got some people have printed out some crosswords and colouring in stuff for us. So these are more aimed at younger kids. And then we've also got, we want to put in Monopoly cards, because that game, if you don't have Monopoly cards, it's awesome. It's $10 from Countdown, and you can play it for hours. And then we've got normal cards. We want to get like a box of the cake mix. We just have to add like an egg, so people can do some baking. And then we're trying to source some te reo Māori resources, so people can keep up and like learn new skills as well. And then we had some Play-Doh in there and an arts and crafts box. So pretty much just stuff for people to do, but not like schoolwork, just fun stuff. And then we're trying to design one for our older generations, from the 16 plus age range, and still working with the rangatahi to see what that looks like. But it's more or less the same, but just up the skill level in terms of colouring.
Yeah, aroha mai whānau. We might be having some connection glitches. It might be because Tale lives in the Eastern Bay of Plenty and it's too sunny there. So it's soaking up all the sun. However, how can you, Tale, this is a question for you. How can you make birthdays special for kids, especially during this time when you don't have resources to decorate or, how do you make birthday special? That's one of the questions from whānau.
Cool. I reckon, use your natural resources. So you could, when your child goes to sleep, if it's their birthday, then maybe you could make some flax flowers, or just any sort of flowers or anything that you've got out around the house. Sort of just make it, you could go for the rustic theme this isolation birthday. So you could try that. And sort of like, if you make your cake, put it on you could just turn like a bowl upside down or something, or use a plank of wood and put it on top of that, because it's hard time for a lot of people. And maybe if you wanted to make like those little voucher booklets, like this voucher entitles you to pancakes for breakfast, and if you're like want to do something really cool, then you could give them a voucher like, after isolation I'll take you to da da da. But just, theme always works well, and at least you, because I know there's not heaps of decorations, and it's hard, but yeah.
Ka pai. That question was from Te. Kia ora Te for that pātai. Ka pai. Now, whānau, we're going to wrap this up, but before we wrap it up, maybe we'll give Tale just maybe a few seconds or a minute to have a kōrero of just a bit about her mahi as a wellbeing rangatahi advocate in the Eastern Bay of Plenty and the Motu.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me as well. And so I run a group called the Find Your Fish Movement, and it's a youth-led group where we are helping rangatahi find their passion and turn it into their profession. So the root of that is really targeting mental health. Like, we want to give people the skills to find what they love to do. We want to open up pathways for them so that they can actually see the different avenues that they can do in life, and give them workshops and programs that can help them really just find what they love to do and be able to do it every single day of their life, be able to love it, work on it, and get paid for it, because at the end of the day, we all need money to pay our bills. But yeah, just more for me, when I found my love of youth work, it gave me like this real sense of happiness, and it's just wanting to share that with other people.
Well, kia ora Tale, nā mihi nui kia koe I whai wāhi ki te kōrero kia mātou. Thank you, Tale, for taking the time out to have a kōrero with us and also share part of your life and also share your bubble with us. And everyone out there, kei te mihi kia koutou, thank you for all tuning into the special live kōrero. We'll be back on Thursday afternoon with another kōrero, more about grandparenting in this time. A lot of our grandparents have our mokopuna, have their mokopuna, and the main caregivers and breadwinners for the mokopuna. So we thought we'd talk to two grandparents. They're from Pōneke, but also from Tainui and Ngāti Awa, and that is Eddie Elliott and Eugene Ryder, two karaua that will be sharing their stories about being grandparents and looking after their mokopuna in isolation. Remember, there's lots of free rauemi on the Skip website. If you want to get some activity cards for whānau, they're free. And also some cool magnets around staying calm in these tricky times. All you need to do is go to our website, which is www.skip.org.nz. We'd also like to give a big shout out, mihi to That's Not Okay, e tu whānau, Protect Our Whakapapa, who are also cross-posting this kōrero across the motu. Anyway, whānau, kei te mihi ki a koe tālei, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou, haere rā, ka kite.